Welcome everybody to my podcast, Big Little Small Talk. I'm Megan O'Hara-Sullivan and I love to talk, but I also love to listen. If you're new here, welcome. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoy the episode. Welcome listeners to Big Little Small Talk. My name's Megan O'Hara-Sullivan and we have a guest today, Petria Cumner, who is the founder and owner of Stirling and Truffles. Welcome, Petria.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Petria, I came across you on social media because you've been involved in the Toowoomba Fashion Festival and you were the sustainability partner. And I went to have a look what sort of thing you do, and it says that you have beautiful sustainable lifestyle accessories. Can you explain to a bogan like me what beautiful lifestyle accessories are, sustainable lifestyle accessories?
Yeah, it's quite a broad terminology, isn't it? So originally when we first started Stirling and Truffles, we first started with bottle carriers or bottle harnesses, and it was to encourage people to use their reusable water bottles when they left home and not buy single-use plastic water bottles. So from our little hero, which was that very first original bottle carrier, we then diversified into more lifestyle products, so that encompassed picnic blanket holders, wallets, dog collars, leads, and then most recently fashion accessories.
Okay, so are all of the products leather, are they?
They are all leather. They're all Australian vegetable tanned leather, and that is a very important fact because leather does get a really bad rap and the sustainability side of things, and that's for two reasons. One being the deforestation issues, which that's more prevalent in South America and places like that.
So just explore that a bit for me. So the leather, running cattle, is on land that has previously been forest. Is that what you mean by that?
Yeah, so in Australia, I suppose, where we get our leather from is from the meat industry. So it's a byproduct of the meat industry. There are countries in the world that actually do knock down forests like the Amazon and have them solely to produce leather. So this is why we don't have anything to do with that. It's very important to us to keep our carbon footprint down and have a minimal environmental impact as possible. So yes, we use a byproduct of the meat industry that often ends up in landfill. And leather is a product that is, if when cared for, it can last a lifetime. Unlike your other alternatives of plastic and so forth, which have 3 to 5 year, if you're lucky, lifespan. And the other flip side of that is it's vegetable tanned leather. So that means it's the old-fashioned way of tanning. You're not using your heavy metals like chrome and things that are detrimental to the environment and also people's health. It's using tree tannins and water to tan the leather. So it is a longer process in tanning. However, it's more beneficial for everyone.
When you say we, who's we, Petria?
Me and my partner, Ben.
Mm-hmm.
Ben helps create the products. We create all of our products in-house.
So you design them? You make them?
We make them.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about your desire to make the world a plastics-free world. Where does that come from in this driven nature to be sustainable?
Yes, it is a later in life drive that has happened for me, and that would be instigated by the birth of my son and also relocating during the pandemic. I guess it highlighted to us, we relocated from Brisbane to Toowoomba just at the start of lockdown. We couldn't get a removalist to help us move, so we did it in 17 carloads, backwards and forwards. Sterling was 6 months old at the time, and we saw this vision one day when we turned to look at him in the back seat, and there was a mountain of plastic water bottles. So that was an epiphany to me where I saw that and I realised we were just one family in the world, and this is what we're contributing to his inheritance from us of this world. And I had always known that there was a plastic problem and just thought, okay, you can just recycle them, give them to containers for change, problem goes away. It doesn't go away. So yeah, that's where that has come from. And my desire has just grown ever since.
Well, you said that you relocated here during the pandemic. What instigated that move?
So we had no family down there, and after having a child, you kind of want to be a bit closer to family. And Ben's parents are out in Taroom, but he does have a sister and aunt and great grandmother here. So, and I've got my father and my brother here. So we thought it would be a good idea to come a bit closer and have the family be able to see each other, especially when you don't know how long the pandemic was going to last for.
And exactly what can you tell me is a chocolate Doxy poo?
AKA truffles.
Hence Stirling and Truffles.
Yes.
So what is the Doxy poo?
Doxy poo, yeah. So Truffles is a Dachshund cross poodle. So she's super intelligent, super stubborn, and hypoallergenic.
Right. And that's where the name was born from?
Yeah. So originally we didn't intend to start a business. It was just a hobby when we first started, and we were thinking of a name, and we thought, well, Stirling and Truffles, they're my two babies, and they are literally the motivation behind starting this whole product. So we needed to be hands-free and still take a bottle carrier with us wherever we went.
Why start with a bottle carrier, and what exactly is involved in design patent number 202113640?
Love it. That's impressive.
Tell me why a bottle carrier to start with, although you did mention that you desire to. So obviously you didn't want to have people with plastic bottles in there, and even if they did, that was better than buying a new one. But why a bottle carrier to start?
Yeah, so initially we started for our own use. So we saw the huge pile of plastic water bottles in the back seat, and it was like, we have all of these reusable bottles at home, but we're not taking them with us because we need our hands free. We've got a dog, we've got a newborn, we need our hands all the time. So we thought, well, how are we going to encourage ourselves to take it with us? And it's like, well, we create a bottle carrier so then we can wear it, our hands are still free, and then we have water whenever we need it. So that's where we started with that.
Had either of you done any leather work before?
Yeah, so both of us, I grew up on a beef stud farm. So my family has worked with leather ever since I can remember. But Ben used to spend his school holidays on a sheep farm outside of Taroom with his adopted grandparents, and he did a lot of leather work back then, learning how to do whips and things like that from a very young age. So
okay. But literally you think, okay, that's going to be a good idea, but what's the first thing you do? Where do you get leather from?
Yeah, well, there's not many suppliers left in Australia anymore. Most of it is tanned overseas, and so luckily we do have a Victorian supplier that does the vegetable tan leather, and Brisbane supplier as well. And
even tools, like, did you get a prototype made up? Like, how many designs did you have before you thought, the bottle keeps falling out, not right? Yeah, numerous prototypes. So there's probably about a year's worth of development behind the scenes in numerous different grades of leather, thicknesses of leather, and also all different types of bottle shapes and sizes as well. We do have a number of different variety of carriers. It's not just one. We've got quite a few now. So we've got lots of other numbers with them. So tell me about the process of patenting something. How involved is that? We engaged we had a chance engagement at an event with an IP lawyer, and we just had a discussion on how we would go about it, whether we design register it or patent it, and his advice was to do the full design registration of it, being more a creative product rather than an intellectual product, so to speak. You have to provide all the drawings and measurements involved with that, and then they do all the documentation for you, send it away, and double check that no one else has that design. And then after a period of time you come back with the
registration, if you're lucky, if no one else has created that product before.
This is worldwide, is it?
We have the Australian. You can get worldwide, but it is a lot more expensive.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
And is that an expensive process to patent something? Like, give me an idea. Is it $100, $1,000?
Oh, it's in the thousands. Yeah. You will get change out of $10,000.
Right. And at this stage, you're still very fledgling business, but you just thought it's going to be worth it? You thought you were really onto something?
Yeah, we really felt that, especially with the concern for greenwashing was growing within the government and within the community. So we thought
Explain that to our listeners, what greenwashing is.
So greenwashing is where generally businesses, it's not always just businesses, but it's generally where businesses say that they are good for the environment, and they aren't necessarily being good for the environment. So, for example, if there's a plastic bag and they'll say, I'm green, reuse me, that is a term of greenwashing because it's still a plastic product, it's still created from fossil fuels. Yes, you can reuse it, but it is a form of greenwashing there. That's one thing that comes to my head at the moment. There's probably better examples.
Yeah, what greenwashing? Now, I interrupted you. You were on a journey to tell me about sustainability, about that you wanted to take the chance on paying that money for patent. And
it was to get, I suppose, more consumer confidence and trust and legitimacy to say that we are serious about what we're doing. We are in it for the long haul.
I'll just remind the listeners that they're on 102.7 FM and we're in Big Little Small Talk. We're talking to owner and founder and I would imagine marketing person and salesperson and answering the phone person, Petria Cumner, who owns Stirling and Truffles, and it's a sustainable lifestyle accessories company. I want to stay on the subject of sustainability, Petria. What does sustainability mean to you?
To me, it is so many things to so many people, but to me it is getting the most environmentally conscious product, I suppose, but it doesn't always have to mean that. Sometimes it is just getting a long life out of a product. So for example, like in the world that we live in, it's near impossible to avoid plastic these days. It's been in the world for over 70 years now and it's absolutely everywhere we turn. So it might just be an example of, instead of throwing something out after a period of a year, you could repurpose it or upcycle it or find it a new home, give it away to someone who will actually use it. It's just so many things. It's just not having it for a period of time and then discarding it once it's no longer useful to you.
I know you said that this was this light bulb moment when you looked at Stirling in the back of the car, but is this something that's come along increasingly in your life, or was it something that you've been brought up with, or what's kind of made you go more green?
Yeah, I've always had an awareness, especially growing up on a farm. I think that, well, I'm not sure if this is everyone that's growing up on a farm, but in some instances you've got limited resources, limited journeys into town or so forth. So if something, you wear something out until it's got absolutely no life left in it. And then sometimes when it is still on its last legs, you find another life for it. So that is the way that I was brought up. Also, I had a lot of interaction with my mother's mum before she had passed away in her 80s, and she grew up through the Depression, and I saw that that was still a very, very strong part of her life. Even in her 80s, after so many decades later, she still used to hang on to things and wear them out until. So that minimal waste thing I've always grown up with, I think. And then I think it was only once I had Stirling that it kind of ignited to the next level.
I love it. Now, would that be Great Grandma Rilla?
No.
That's the other grandma, is
That's
it?
Ben's grandmother, yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about great-grandma Rilla a little bit later on. They weren't at the stage where they were, when the middle of the sheets wore out, that they'd cut the sheet down and sew it the other way around, were they?
I didn't witness that one, no.
But just that sustainability. And was your partner on board as well, or are you sort of growing more into the role of sustainability champions?
Initially, he wasn't 100% on board. Initially, he's like, okay, this is where you want to go. It did take a little bit of time, but then when I think, especially when I was in the concept stage where I was building the website and not many people did really grasp what I was trying to achieve. It was only once I launched the website, people had that aha moment. Okay, I get it. Yes, I'm on board. So from then on, he's been obviously our biggest backer, other than me and other than Stirling.
Champions. And what does it mean to be a certified company, a certified sustainability company? Is that something that's important to you as well?
It is, however, it is also a big cost factor, and it also does depend upon the amount of employees that you have. So that's probably more important for a bigger corporation to have that full certification in that area. We, being such a small business, it is out of our price range to be 100% certified sustainable, because we're talking in tens of thousands of dollars, and that's definitely not in our budget. So we've gone about it through other ways, through managing our emissions and doing the calculations on our emissions to be as transparent as possible, where people can actually see that what we're saying isn't greenwashing, so to speak. They can actually look at our data and see what our measurements are.
So is that something that's available on the website? If you want to deal with a sustainable company, you're looking at their data in terms of emissions? Is that
that is one way of looking at it. You can also look at who they're affiliated with. There's also some businesses give back to, say, like 1% for the planet, or they plant a tree or something like that to mitigate their carbon offset. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're fully sustainable, but it's a very complicated region, very complicated ground at this stage. There are more government mandates that will be coming through.
Yeah. Well, I think, people, insurance companies and banking companies and investment companies, superannuation companies, they perhaps not right now investing in Stirling and Truffles, but perhaps in the future, and they want to see your credentials, I guess.
Yeah, 100%.
That's where that's all come from.
Yeah.
So that then brings me to the Toowoomba Fashion Festival, which you were the sustainability partner, and I did read that the Toowoomba Fashion Festival was the first environmentally conscious fashion event in the nation. Is that correct?
That we're aware of, yes.
Yeah, so tell me about that. Tell me about the fashion festival. It just is something that I don't know a lot about, and whoever did the marketing for it is doing a wonderful job. So
yeah, so it's the brainchild of Crystal Riley and Jules McBain. They had the concept and brought it to life. They came to us early on in the piece, and this was mid last year, I believe, and asked us if we would be interested in participating with our accessories, as they were looking for local businesses around the Toowoomba area to participate in this fashion festival. And it's a wonderful concept because we don't have anything like this in Toowoomba, and they were wanting to make it high end, like the catwalks that you'd see in Melbourne Fashion Week and so forth. And they did it. They pulled it off. They did a fantastic job.
Now, I would imagine that they were using more of your products than perhaps water bottles. What other sorts of things were they using in the fashion festival?
Well, this is where things got a little bit different for us, for all of us involved. When they first came to me and asked if we were interested with our accessories, I saw it as an opportunity to use the event to be a pioneer, I suppose, in events. So fashion and events are notorious for being high waste consumers. So these are two areas where I saw as an opportunity to try and go in from the get-go and see if we can make a difference here, and then hopefully they will have a ripple effect onto other events and be instigators for people to make change, and just think about things a little bit differently. So from there I suggested that I help them make the event as sustainable as possible. So that is eliminating plastic water bottles, simple as eliminating plastic water bottles. That's always going to be our number one thing. But it's also from the printing aspect, using 100% recycled Australian paper, post-consumer waste, and also using vegetable inks instead of standard inks, right back to the canvas signage, to instead of vinyls or PVCs and bamboo, right back to backstage, from the makeup point of view, instead of using plastic Q-tips and things backstage, use bamboo Q-sticks. And then also from there we decided to have a little bit of fun on the fashion side of things and use it as an opportunity to bring some bright colours in for sustainable leather accessories, such as fun big bright bows and capes and other body type of harnesses and so forth there. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds interesting, doesn't it? Body harnesses, definitely. Because that was the point I was trying to make, I guess, was that I think the biggest source of landfill, or one of the biggest sources, is fashion, and how the clothing has become so cheap that people don't care whether they wear it once and throw it away. And so it's a kind of an interesting juxtaposition, fashion and sustainability.
100%. And that is something that I did speak about on the day as well, is that gone are the 4 seasons of fashion. It's now 52 seasons a year. Especially with the likes of, don't know if I'm allowed to say brand names, but Temu and Shein and things like that. The fast fashion has just escalated astronomically. So it's something that I highlighted there, and that there's a 85% of clothing gets dumped or burnt every second, and that's just insanity.
Give me that statistic again. 85%?
85% of the clothing worldwide gets dumped or burnt every second.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, and then it's not just that. It's also modern day slavery still exists. Consumers need to be aware where they just need to educate themselves a little bit more in where their clothing purchases are coming from. There's the US have actually put in mandates and laws against certain regions across the world, them accepting clothing products, because there are actually concentration camps in China producing cotton and so forth. Yeah.
So this then brings the next exciting thing. I'm not sure kind of the sequence of things, but you are now going to London in May for Women Changing the World Awards. And you've been nominated in 2 categories. 1, Women in Sustainability, and 2, Regional and Rural Area Impact. So tell me about that. That seems like a pretty big leap from doing your own removalist to going to London for an award.
I know, it's a bit of a whirlwind, isn't it? Yeah, so very excited about that we leave in less than a month.
So tell me how it happened though.
So I got nominated for it. Once I received a nomination, I almost fell over and thought, wow, we've just been going less than 2 years and we're into this. We must be making a little bit more impact than I had originally thought. We're inspiring someone. So after that, there is a process where you accept the nomination, and there is a myriad of questions that you have to answer, and you are judged upon that against other people that have been nominated for it. Yeah, so I'm one of 8 finalists across the world for Women in Sustainability, and one of 11 for Rural and Regional Impact.
Petria, that is just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
1 in 8.
1 in 8 for sustainability, yeah.
Across the world. Is it a sustainability in some category? Like, sustainability is a pretty big category.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a very broad category. And no, it hasn't it hasn't been narrowed down. So it is that broad.
Yeah. Can I ask you a very banal question? Have you got something to wear? Have you thought about what you're going to wear?
I feel like I do need to wear a Stirling and Truffles piece.
You haven't got you'll say the big bit like the bow.
No,
Yeah.
I think I'm going to wear the floral piece that I have. So
It's a shoulder piece. She's
the
indicating.
shoulder piece. So I handcrafted every little flower on that shoulder piece. It's made from kangaroo leather, and I made it in honour of my mum's memory. So it represents cherry blossom season and our final trip to Japan, her bucket list trip before she passed away.
Wow, and she'll be sitting on your shoulder. Well, all I can do is just wish you all the very best for that. That is something that we should be trumpeting, that you here from the Toowoomba region are now going to London. Just before I go off that, though, Fergie is going to be one of the judges, isn't she?
She's going to be presenting, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So I will meet her.
If you could get a photo with Fergie for me, if you wouldn't mind.
We'll absolutely do that.
Okay. Now, you mentioned your mum there, Petria. You did something really special with her in a volunteer position on the Gold Coast. Tell me about that.
Well, it was meant to be something very special together. We had applied for the Com Games volunteer positions, and that was held down at the Gold Coast, and she was selected to be a driver for the athletes and dignitaries at the time, and I was meant to be helping more as a welcoming team. Mum then fell very ill in between the time that we interviewed and did the whole process up until when the positions were given out. She fell so ill that I became her full-time carer. I relocated from Brisbane to Toowoomba, and then she passed away. And then a couple of weeks after she had passed, I got the email to say I was given her position.
Tell me about the process of, did you want to do it? Did you not want to do it? Did you think about pulling out?
I did, 100%. I got the email, burst into tears, and bring back all the emotions.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
and I just thought this was something that we were meant to do together. I can't possibly do this. So I sat with it for a few days, and then I was like, I can't not do it. And
you can do it in her honour.
I did.
And how did that feel every day?
Well,
day by day.
Once I made the decision that I was going to do it, Mum was not yet buried. Her ashes were still with the funeral home, so I quickly picked out a pendant, got the funeral home to put some in the pendant, and I took her to the games with me.
Oh my God.
So she was with me.
Is this a pendant, something that you wear when you're a volunteer?
No. It's a special, so you can choose if someone passes away to collect some of their ashes and wear it as a pendant, or it's almost like an urn that you wear with you. And I couldn't bear not to take her with me. We were meant to do it together. So, yeah, I wore her every single day down there. So she was with me.
A beautiful story. And also, I love that story because you pushed through that. It would have been easier not to do it.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
But it ended up, like, every day I would have moments like, it was so hard. I was still going through the grieving. And I had to push myself to do it, but I'm very glad that I did, and I met some of the most amazing people from across the world in doing it.
What was the advice or lovely thing that someone said to you that you said that you'll remember? It was I did read it, but I didn't write it down. It was something lovely.
And of course I don't remember.
Well, you met some amazing people and you
did.
powered through. So in terms of a lesson for you. Now, tell me, we started before about Great-Grandma Rilla. And what does Great-Grandma Rilla like to do? She likes to paint.
Oh, she loves to paint. She did a beautiful painting of truffles recently for Stirling on a little Easter t-shirt for him. Yeah, she's an incredible artist and knitter and creative, and she's in her 90s, so she's just an amazing woman.
So that's on your side of the family?
No, that's Ben's grandmother.
Well, I was going to say, do you think that's where your creativity came from?
Oh, mine came from my mum and my grandmother as well. But
right, yeah. I'm jumping around a little bit here, but that incredible marketing skill that you have, where did that come from?
Oh, thank you. I have had a little bit of marketing experience. I have worked in marketing. I was the state marketing manager for a real estate company in another life.
Just a little bit of experience.
Yeah. Yeah. It's more cookie cutter, the real estate marketing. It's not as creative, but I'm also an interior designer by trade. So that's probably where more the creative side comes from. Yeah, I've had my own interior design business for the last 13 years.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah. So it's still there on the back burner. My main focus is Stirling and Truffles at the moment, but occasionally when I need that creative outlet, I do take on a job from my existing client base. And
what do you do when people come and say, he says, oh, well, I like the Tuscany look, and she says, I like the shabby chic. How do you marry that? Or do you just not get too many blokes who say anything that they like?
Oh, no, you do. Yeah. You do get a few, and you end up being a marriage counsellor a lot when you're an interior designer. So you work together and create an amicable agreement between the two. It can take some time.
What about when you walk into people's houses and they've got the great big ceramic leopard and you just think, oh, this is not going to work?
Yeah, you have to be rather diplomatic sometimes. Yeah,
steer them away.
Yeah.
Well, you've got a whole suitcase full of stuff in your background there that we haven't even started to explore. But I am going to give you a couple of quick fire questions. But I will just remind the listeners you're with me, Megan O'Hara-Sullivan, and we're on Big Little Small Talk. We're talking to Petria Cumner, who is going to London, not quite to see the Queen, but going to see Fergie, who is one of the judges of the Women Changing the World Awards. And Petria is going as one of 8 people for a Women in Sustainability Award and Rural and Regional Area Impact Award, which has blown my mind. Okay. Now, Petria, can I ask you, do you think that you're an introvert or an extrovert?
Introvert.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah,
Why
unless I've had a few tequilas.
just a few.
Yeah. Then I'm probably the most extroverted person in the room.
What about your partner? Is he an introvert?
He's an extrovert.
Right.
Yeah.
And is he good with sort of, what do you need to be to have a business like Stirling and Truffles? You have to have the two?
I think we work synergistically most of the time.
Synergistically? That's got to be good.
I think in areas where I'm not so strong, he definitely picks up, and vice versa. The majority of the business does rely upon me, whereas Ben crafts most of the business. But if there is certainly more like a technical issue or spreadsheets, anything like that, handball to him. That's all him.
So has Ben got a bit of off-farm income then?
Oh, yeah. So Ben does have a day job. This is his side hustle.
Yes.
So this is my baby.
Yes. Yeah. It takes a lot to make the side hustle pay the bills, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Especially when you're a social enterprise as well. So everything that you do, you put back into the business.
Explain that to the listeners, what a social enterprise is.
So a social enterprise is different from a charity or a non-for-profit in the aspect that you are still creating good, either for purpose, people or planet, raising awareness and helping the community, but you also generate an income from it as well. So we don't get any government funding or any grants at this point in time. We will be looking into that. We are looking into that now at the future. So we're all completely self-funded. So every bit of advocacy work that we do is generated from the business, and it's put back into the business.
I always had in my mind that social enterprise was employing people that had barriers to employment and that sort of thing. Is that where you're hoping to go to?
100%. That is definitely an element of it. As we continue to grow, that is something that we are looking into, and we're especially looking into people from more disadvantaged backgrounds, so people with learning difficulties and Asperger's or things like that can't be in a traditional work environment, but still want to do something with their hands and be creative and have that sense of purpose. So that's where we would like to allocate our resources to.
I love it. Okay, well, this might be a funny question to ask you, but if you didn't have this job, what would you be doing? What would be your ideal job?
This is pretty an interesting one. As I said, like I need that creative outlet as an interior designer as well. However, even when I was working in interior design, I've always had this strong desire for social justice. So my dream job was always working for the UN and helping with human trafficking and stuff like that. Sounds completely random.
Doesn't sound so random at all, actually. It sounds like a perfect fit.
Yeah. So in another life, I probably would have taken the legal path and gone down that way.
Plenty of time yet, I think, for you, young lady. And what is your strangest hidden talent?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, that's a good one. My son would probably say that it is jumping on one foot while playing a recorder.
Is the recorder playing legitimate, or is it
it's legitimate enough for him. Yeah, that's all that matters.
And that's all we need, all right. And what about something that people are surprised to learn about you? I think you've given us a few surprises here this afternoon.
Yeah, there's been a couple. I think a lot of people are often surprised that I grew up on a beef stud farm, for one. And
why is that?
I think they see kind of this city girl, this I suppose like a fashionista in some occasions, but and I guess the other thing is the first thing that I studied when I left school was natural therapies, and I started the path to become a naturopath.
It's all kind of all fitting together, though, isn't it?
It does, yeah.
When you look at it from the outside.
Yeah.
Where would you go on holidays if you had no budget restrictions?
Oh, yeah. Where wouldn't I go? I'd love to go everywhere. But Italy, just doing a whole tour of Italy and just spending so much time around Tuscany and just actually relaxing and absorbing in the culture and, yeah, I think
and the fashion.
And, yeah. And the fashion.
Where do you sit on plane flights and sustainability? And
yeah, that's a big thing. Yes. This is something that we don't often fly. So when we do fly, it's for an end goal in mind. So this is why we hesitated in going to London. We have researched the most sustainable carriers, if you believe it or not, flight-wise, to see what their offset is. And we weighed up what the benefits could be for exposure for not only us as Stirling and Truffles, but also our message and sustainability. We're going to be making contact with the royal family, who are one of the biggest advocates of sustainability and have been since the 70s, well and truly before it was even really a thing. So we kind of weighed up everything. It wasn't just, yep, we're jumping on a plane and going. We literally have gone through the thought process of it all.
Isn't it interesting? Because that's one of the things that people who think that climate change and all of that is just all rubbish and it's okay when you're getting on planes and things. But I did hear an interesting conversations the other day with Louise Milligan, who's a journalist, and she talked about going to Europe, more because she was so frightened of flying, but she went to Europe and she went on a carrier. So when you said a carrier, I thought you were going to get on a carrier ship and take a month to go to the awards. I thought, wow, that's dedication.
No.
A carrier, the most sustainable character. So Tuscany in Italy. All right, well, this might answer your next question, which is, what's your favourite city you've ever visited?
Yeah. Well, actually, Morocco. Monaco.
Oh.
Not Morocco.
Oh.
I haven't gone to Morocco yet. Monaco was actually my favourite city. It was just so beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Yeah.
Right. Tell me about Monaco, because I picture high rollers and gambling and horse racing and lights and partying and
there's certainly that aspect of it, but I was probably looking more at the treescape and the hilly areas and just the sheer beauty of the place, not so much the other adventurous side of things, just the sheer beauty, which it's not far from Italy and it shares that same beauty, but it's just so peaceful and tranquil.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because I'm such a royal tragic, any Princess Grace stuff around that you saw in Monaco?
Only a memorial.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
To where Stephanie was driving the car and...
there, and I think it was also where she resided as well, a memorial from the palace area. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so who then, good segue into your next question, which is, who is your favourite royal? And you better say Fergie, I guess.
Well, yeah, I thought about that. Yeah, so, yeah, definitely I've got to say her because I'm going to meet her and say hi. But also, I can't not say King Charles, I suppose, given his stance on sustainability. Yeah, so I'm not going for the Harry and William, but yeah, more that sustainability side of things and what he stands for and what he's done. He's a huge advocate for that side of things. And
kind of quite made fun of over the years.
Oh, 100%.
And, and then really, as you said before, he was kind of ahead of his time, really. Yeah, good for you. All right. A song that can't keep you off the dance floor. You've had a couple of tequilas. It comes on, and what is it?
It's funny. There's actually two, and they're polar opposite. There's Superstitious from Stevie Wonder, and then the other one is Can't Hold Us, Macklemore.
Ah, okay. Very
so,
good.
Complete polar opposite.
Is that a bit like you? You've got a few different things going on all at
probably.
the same time.
Yeah.
Okay, lovely. Well, I'm sure we can drag up one of those. Well, look, Petria, all I can do is say good luck for the awards in May. And one other question I did want to ask you was from the awards, now you've got invitations to New York and Milan, is that right?
Yeah, well, that's off the back of the Toowoomba Fashion Festival, actually. So, we have been invited to participate and go along to New York Fashion Week and Milan Fashion Week in September.
When were you going to tell me that? That's another thing that's in that suitcase that hasn't come out yet.
Well, there's something else as well. I'm finalising my chapter for a book that will be coming out in August, which I've been asked to co-author as Women in Business.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just wow.
Yeah, so there's a lot happening.
Yeah,
at
good
the moment.
For you, Petria. It's I can't imagine how much fun you must be having, but also how much hard work is going into everything that you're doing. So, I hope you're really proud of what you're doing, and not only sort of the business, but the reason behind the business, because it's truly worthwhile. So
thank you.
Thank you, Petria, for being my guest on Big Little Small Talk. It's been a real joy meeting you today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
And good luck.
Thank you.
That's it for this week. Thanks for joining me on Big Little Small Talk. I hope you can make the time to join me next week. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on your favourite podcast app.